Hi, good morning, everyone. But today I am here with some questions from past year microeconomics, which are CUET oriented. Only CUET questions or any paper which now comes under CUET, जैसे JNU के past year questions, but microeconomics we will try and we will cover today. Okay, beta. So this is the first marathon, no, not first actually, I think the second marathon that we are doing for CUET microeconomics. Post this, I will be doing more marathons also. Some of them on YouTube, some of them will only be for the enrolled students. And in those marathon, we will be taking topic oriented questions. So जैसे आज हम माइक्रो इकोनॉमिक्स में कंज्यूमर थ्योरी कवर कर रहे हैं, maybe the next one will be on producer theory, then the next one will be on general equilibrium and so on. Okay, beta. So to begin with, let us go ahead and start today's session. Look at the first question of the day. In a two-world, a consumer's preference over commodity 1 and 2 can be represented by a utility function. But note that the utility function given to you is quasi-linear. जो utility function दिया हुआ है, वो quasi-linear utility function है. The consumer's income is known to be very high. तो जो consumer की income है, वो बहुत ज़्यादा high है. Then the demand for good 1 displays what of the following? And it is asking about substitution and income effect. Take a moment, try to do this yourself first, then we will do it together. Just think about this. What will be the substitution effect and what will be the income effect? Try to think about this once. So just take an example. अगर ऐसे समझ में ना आए ना, you can just take an example. So you can take the utility function, let's say as this. ln x1 plus x2. So beta यहाँ पर एक function है. I have taken this function as ln x1 and दूसरा is x2. Is this clear? So beta just think about this now. If I go ahead and I find the equilibrium condition, the equilibrium condition is where MRS is equal to the price ratio. MRS is this, coming from this, right? So MRS will be MU1 by MU2, and it must be equal to P1 by P2. So beta, when you go ahead and when you differentiate with respect to 1, good 1, so ln x1 का derivation हो गया 1 by x1, and x2 का differentiation हो गया 1. So 1 by x1 by 1, this is equal to P1 by P2. So beta, this will imply that 1 by x1 will be P1 by P2. That means that you will have x1 as P2 by P1. So beta, x1 is not affected by income. x2 will be affected by income. If I find x2, x2 will be income minus expenditure on good 1 upon price of good 2. यही तो होता है x2. So x2 will be income minus money spent on good 1. So P1, good 1 की value आ गई P2 by P1 upon P2. So beta, this is going to be M minus P2 by P2. तो ये हो जाएगा M by P2 minus 1. So beta, note that when we talk about this question, it says question is very high. Income is very high. So if income is very high, you can afford good 2. जितनी income good 2 के लिए चाहिए उतना आप ले पा रहे हो. Good 1 के लिए income की जरूरत ही नहीं है. You just need prices. Now think about it. Good 1 is not a function of income. It is not affected by income. So if it is not affected by income, we know that what is going to happen in this case? There will be no income effect for good 1. Clear है? Income effect हो ही नहीं सकता ना good 1 के लिए, क्योंकि good 1 is not a function of income, right? So therefore, we can go ahead and say that the income effect is 0 and substitution effect is always negative. We know that. So answer to this question is D. Please mark the answer. The substitution effect is negative and there is no income effect. Clear ho gaya? ठीक है बेटा. This came in the year 2012 JNU paper. Now come to the next question. In a two-world economy, suppose that price of one good decreases, which of the following holds true? So, beta, we know that when we talk, so all options, read them out. They are written in terms of Slutsky equation. Pehla option dekho. Slutsky equation says total change in income is exactly equal to sum of substitution effect and income effect. Yahi correct hai? This is correct. That total effect is substitution effect plus income effect. So this is correct, beta. Read the second one. Substitution effect say Slutsky equation says total change in demand is less than sum. Na, it is equal to sum. Na, it is more than sum. Na, it is equal to sum. Does not deal with income effect at all. No, total effect is substitution effect plus income effect. So, beta, the clear answer to this question is A. That the total effect should be equal to substitution effect plus income effect. That's the answer to this question. I hope this is clear to you. So in this case, we can go ahead. Yes, beta, you can take in option in the first question. Yes, you could have taken root x1 ले लो, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, plus x2. Actually, अगर मैं general भी रखूं, if I write u of x1 plus x2, so you should understand ना कि MRS क्या होगा? MRS will be mu1 by mu2. And if I differentiate this with respect to 1, so this will be u dash x1. And if I differentiate it with respect to 2, it will be just 1. And I'm equating this to the price ratio. But in class, we have done implicit functions. So you know that we are just saying that any x1 star that satisfies this equation is the equilibrium. और वो जो x1 star इस equation को satisfy करेगा, it will only be a function of prices ना, because यहाँ पे income तो आ नहीं रही है. So ये equation के लिए जो x1 star इस equation को satisfy करेगा, it will only be a function of prices and hence no income effect. So I could have done it even without taking any function. I will get the same answer. Or if you want to take a function, there is nothing wrong. You're absolutely right. Root x1 equally works well. ln x1 equally works well. x1 1 by x1 also works well. कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. Because ultimately mu2 जो है, when you find out marginal utility of good 2, वो हमेशा ही 1 आएगी. So whatever function you take here, you will find that x1 will only be a function of prices. That will always be true. Okay. So you're right. You can do that. Okay. Now come to the third question. So this question, beta, this came in year 2011 also, and then it came in 12 also. 10 also. It repeated twice. So let's read the question. It's a very easy question. So it says, suppose that the utility function is given by, utility function is given by u of xy. And goods are perfect substitutes. Then the indifference curve will be. So we know that for perfect substitutes, the indifference curve are straight lines, right? So they look like this. These are my ICs. Very simple, right? So the correct answer to this question should be A, that the ICs will be straight line. That's the answer to this question. Okay, come to the next one. So beta, this question, it came in year 2011. Let's read the question. Bread and apple are substitutes. A sudden rise in the supply of flour making bread will result in. So let's think about it. Flour is used to make bread. If flour becomes expensive, bread will also become expensive. Bread and apple are substitutes. So when price of bread will increase, people will switch towards apple. So the demand of apple will increase. Right? So just think about it. देखो यहाँ पे कहाँ पे आ रहा है? What is going to happen in this case? So we know that there should be an increase in the demand of apple and there should be a decrease. Oh, this is sudden rise in supply of flour. Sorry, I thought sudden rise in price of flour. No, sorry. Let's. I read the question wrong. So it says sudden rise in supply of flour. So beta, when supply of flour will increase, it is a raw material to make bread. So when you have more flour in the market, that means that you have easy availability of raw material. Easy availability of raw material always decreases the price of the commodity. So the price of bread will decrease. When the price of bread will decrease, and bread and apple are substitutes of each other, so people will switch towards bread. So the demand of apple will decrease. So in this case, we can say that there will be fall in the price of bread, and therefore what is going to happen? There is going to be change in the demand of apples, right? Now let's look at the options. All three of them tell fall in price of bread. So ये वाला part तो ठीक है. But one, nobody talks about the demand. They only talk about the price of apple. But price of apple नहीं change हो रहा है अभी. अभी हम initial aspect बोल रहे हैं that the demand of apple will fall, right? So ideally what is happening here is that this is my bread market. So this is the demand of bread. This is the supply of bread. This is bread market. The supply of bread is increasing. And when the supply of bread is increasing from B to B dash, the price of bread is decreasing from P to P dash. This is causing a shift of people towards this bread, and this is the market of apples. So this is the supply of apples, the demand of apples, and this is my apple initially, and this is the price. Now, when there is going to be the shift towards this bread, then the demand of apple will decrease. People will want less apples. So then this will happen and this will happen. So ultimately we can go ahead and say that there is going to be fall in the price of bread. People will move towards bread. The demand of apple will decrease. Only in the long run, when the demand decreases, then slowly to adjust the market, the price of apple will fall. Okay. Come to the next question. The utility function of the consumer is given by 3x1 plus x2. But this question also came in 2011 paper. So the utility function clearly is a substitute good function, and it is given that u is equal to 3x1 plus 3x2. And it says that the amount of good 1 and good 2 respectively, okay, unit price of good 1 and good 2 are 1 and 3. So P1 is 1 and P2 is 3. Right? Now read the question. It says, consumer's income is 300, M is 300, and it says find equilibrium. बेटा आज मैं एक नई चीज इसमें बताना चाहती हूँ. Usually we know this thing कि हम क्या करते हैं, we will find MRS, right? So MRS will be MU1 by MU2. So MRS in this case would have been, when you differentiate it with respect to x1, 3, with respect to x2, 3, तो ये हो जाता 1 when you differentiate this function, right? But a price ratio is 1 by 3, that is 0.33. MRS is greater than the price ratio, therefore you will consume only good 1. है ना? Good 1 कितना consume करोगे? What will be x1 star? M by P1. Income is given as 300 and price is given as 1. So beta ये हो जाएगा 300 by 1, which is 300. So from here, we know that answer should be you only consume good 1 and you consume 300 units. Suppose in exam, suppose you get confused, कुछ confusion हो गई, नहीं समझ में आ रहा कि जब MRS greater than price ratio होता है तो only good 1 consume करते हैं या only good 2. Suppose you are confused in this, right? So beta, one thing that you can always do in exam is hit and trial. In चारों ही options को just post it in the utility function ना, and check कि किसमें highest utility निकल रही है. That is also going to help for you. So for example, in the first case, when my bundle is 150-50, so beta, what will I get? 3, 150 plus 50. So it will be 3 into 200. So it will be 600. So my utility will be 600. Right? Take the second case, beta. 3, 50 plus 150. So 3 into 200. Again, utility is 600. Take the next case. 3, 0 plus 100. So utility will be 300. And take the last case. 3, 300 plus 0, which will be 900. So this option gives you the highest utility. कुछ करने की जरूरत ही नहीं पड़ी. I don't know how to remember the MRS, right? MRS and price rule. So I can just put these 4 options in my utility function and I can see where I'm getting the highest utility, and that's done. Okay. Come to the next question. So beta, this question came in 2011 paper. It says, if absolute value of price elasticity of demand for good X is greater than 1, then we must have. So beta, when we say price elasticity, it is percentage change in quantity demanded due to percentage change in price, and this is greater than 1. What does this mean? It means percentage change in quantity demanded is greater than percentage change in price. बस ये statement देख लो कहाँ पे आ रही है. So if price increases by 1%, quantity will decrease by less than 1%. No, the quantity should change by more. Na? Price is changing by 1%. So quantity should change by more than 1%, right? So this should not be less. This should be more. तो ये गलत हो गया. Come to the second statement. If price decreases by 1%, quantity demanded will increase by less than 1%. No, it should have been more. If price of X increases, expenditure on good X will increase. Okay, this is expenditure rule. ये देख लेते हैं एक बारी. So beta, expenditure rule. It says the following. When price increases, of course, quantity will decrease. Expenditure is price into quantity, right? When price decreases, of course, quantity will increase. Expenditure will be price into quantity. So we are saying that if you have price and expenditure that go ahead and move in opposite direction, price and expenditure moving in opposite डायरेक्शन, मतलब जब प्राइस बढ़ता है तो एक्सपेंडिचर उस पर कम हो जाता है, राइट? एंड जब प्राइस कम होता है तो जो हम एक्सपेंडिचर, जो टोटल खर्चा कर रहे हैं, वो उस पर बढ़ जाता है. इफ दे मूव इन ऑपोजिट डायरेक्शन, ओनली देन वी हैव इलास्टिक डिमांड. So this should, when this increases, this should decrease. When this decreases, this should increase. Only then we say that it is an elastic demand. But when they move in same direction, it is inelastic. And when expenditure remains unchanged, it is unit elastic. So as per this question, it is saying when price increases, expenditure will increase. Then it is not elastic. It is inelastic. No? So therefore, this is also incorrect. It should have decreased. So answer to this question is none of the above. None of the statements are correct. That's the answer. Okay, now let us go ahead to the next question. So this question, it came in year 2011. ठीक है, question देखो. Suppose price elasticity of demand is 0.2 and price of good X increases by 2.8%. What effect will it have on the total expenditure of good X? Okay, so now just think about it. The options given to you are expenditure will fall or expenditure will rise by 5.6 or 2.2%. Okay. So let's say that elasticity, it is given to us as 0.2. Okay, beta. Beta, what is elasticity? Elasticity is percentage change in quantity demanded upon percentage change in price. Percentage change in quantity demanded upon percentage change in price. And now we are saying that this is 0.2%. This is 0.2. Question also tells you that price of good X rises by 2.8%. So this percentage change in price is 2.8%. So percentage change in quantity demanded upon 2.8 should be 0.2. So percentage change in quantity demanded will be 2.8 into 0.2. Right? So beta, this is going to be 28 into 2, which is going to be 56.56. Right? This is going to be 0.56. So now what we have done is we have gone ahead and we have found out what is going to be the percentage change in quantity demanded when our price changes. Now we want to find out what is going to be the change in expenditure, right? Now just think about it. If I want to go ahead and I want to find out expenditure, expenditure can be written as E, and this is going to be price into quantity. ठीक है जी? बेटा एक बात याद रखना that this is ideally here it is not given. So I'm going to take, I will have to try with both positive and negative values of elasticity because it is not given to me whether it is a normal good or a given good. Ideally, by default, price elasticity should have been negative. So it should have been minus 0.2. But since it is not given to me, I will have to try with plus 0.2 also. Achha, what is expenditure? Expenditure is price into quantity. Okay. So if I have to find percentage change in anything, I must take log on both sides. Dhyan se samjho. So ln E, if I take log on both sides, will be ln PQ. Okay. Now ln PQ is nothing but ln P plus ln Q. This is ln E. Okay. Now I need to go ahead and I need to find out in terms of percentage. So what am I saying? I am saying 1 by EDE is equal to 1 by PDP plus 1 by QDQ. Right? So this is going to become percentage change in expenditure is equal to percentage change in price plus percentage change in quantity. Price is changing by 2.8% and quantity, it is changing by 0.56%. That is what the change in quantity is, right? So ideally, I should be going ahead and adding the two together. But when I am going ahead and I am adding the two together, I can clearly see that this is none of the options, right? No option is going ahead. So if you just add this 2.8 plus 0.56, you will not get this as any of the options, right? Which means that actually they want us to go ahead and they want us to take elasticity in the negative answer only. ये तो 3.14 हो जाएगा, right? So this will be 3.14. So they want us to take elasticity in the negative amount. So ideally what I should be doing, beta, is that this should be negative only, right? The usual way that we take elasticity with the negative, that should be taken. So if I take this in negative amount here, then it will be 2.8 minus 0.56. So that is going to give you approximately 2.24. So approximately 2.2% change is what is coming. And this is positive now. So expenditure should rise by 2.2%. So the answer to this question will be expenditure will rise by 2.2%. Now, there are multiple ways to solve this question. You could have taken price as 100 and tried doing this. Let the initial price be 100, then price increases by 2.8%. So new price will be 102.8. ऐसे करके भी कर सकते थे, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. But I just find taking log easier and just finding it everything in terms of percentage directly here. Okay, so that is what we are going ahead and doing. Okay. So now let us go ahead to the next question and let's see what the question is saying. But this came in year 2011. Let us read this question. In situation 1, price of good X is twice the price of good Y, and consumer spends his entire income on buying 6 units of X and 20 units of good Y. In situation 2, consumer's income is, so pehle situation 1 likh lete hain. Situation 1, price of good X is twice price of good Y. So let price of good Y be some amount, let's say A. Then price of good X will be 2A. Then the quantity of X that you are buying is 6 and quantity of Y that you are buying is 20. In situation 2, consumer's income is double of his income in situation 1. So let income be M. In situation 2, income will be 2M. Price of good Y is twice the price of good Y in situation 1. So price of good Y is 2A. Right? It has doubled. And price of good X is same in situation 1. So price of good X is same. That means it is same as situation 1. So 2A. Right? Okay, continue. The consumer wants to continue consuming 20 units of Y in situation 2. The maximum amount of X the consumer can consume. So I want to have Y as 20 units. It is asking what is X that is possible. Okay, that's the question that we have in hand. So let us go ahead and let us start by finding the budget line first. So beta, these questions are pretty easy. Only CUET mein we can think ki itna numerical level aayega. Not in IIT, not in GATE, not in ISI, not in IGIDR. This is not going to be the level. Please understand. Okay, so what is the budget line in first case? Price of good X into X plus price of good Y into Y is equal to income. Price of good X is 2A. I am consuming 6 units of X. Price of good Y is A. I am consuming 20 units of Y, and this is equal to income of the consumer. So I get 12A plus 20A is equal to M. So income of the consumer will be 32A. Income of the consumer will be 32A. Clear हो गया? बेटा situation 2 में income double हो रही है. So income हो जाएगी 2 into 32A. That means 64A. What is the budget line in situation 2 then? Price of good X into X plus price of good Y into Y is equal to income of the consumer. Price of good X in situation 2 is 2A. I don't know how many X I will consume. Price of good Y in situation 2 is also 2A. And I want to consume 20 units of good Y. And income is 64A. So beta, this is going to be 2AX plus 40A is equal to 64A. So 2AX will be 64A minus 40A. So 2AX will be 24A. So X will come down as 12. So the answer to this question is that the maximum X you can consume will be 12 units. That's the answer, right? So pretty simple questions. Bas budget line banate jao and solve karte jao. That's how you can do it. Okay, read the next question. This question came in 2010 paper. Let's read this through. In a two good world, consumer's utility function is given by this. Max of xy. Okay. X and y are the amount consumed of first and second good respectively. Both, the price of both good is 2. The consumer's income is 100. His optimal consumption is. So beta, in this case, note that price of both good is the same, right? We would have consumed the good which would have been cheaper. जो सस्ता होता है उसको consume कर लेते. But यहाँ पर दोनों ही जो goods हैं उनके जो prices हैं वो same है. But it is a max function. In max function, you cannot consume both goods together. So you will either consume all of good X or consume all of good Y. If you consume all of good X, तो कितना X consume कर सकते हो? M by PX. So income by price, which is 50. So either I can consume all of good X and 0 Y, or all of good Y and 0 X. समझ में आ रही है बात? So answer to this question should be A. That's the answer. It's a max function. You cannot consume both the goods together. So either you will have all of good X or you will have all of good Y. Okay. Come to the next question. Which of the following is necessary and sufficiency condition for consumer equilibrium? Beta, this question came in year 2009. Let us try to read this question. So MRS is equal to the price ratio. तो दो चीजें होती है बेटा. One, whenever I want to attain consumer equilibrium, MRS should be equal to PX by PY. Two, I should have diminishing MRS. एक बार थोड़ा समझ लेते हैं इस बात को. This is my budget line. Supposedly, this is my indifference curve. Then if you notice, tangency is attained here also. Here also tangency is achieved. But MRS is not diminishing. How do I know MRS is not diminishing? Because diminishing MRS means convex IC. And here, I don't see that my indifference curve is convex, it's concave part, right? So this is not equilibrium. So I not only want the tangency condition to be satisfied, but I also want that I should have convex ICs to the origin or diminishing MRS in simple terms, right? So now when I go ahead and I look at these options, the answer should be C, right? So it says marginal rate of substitution is equal to price ratio, provided MRS is diminishing. So if MRS is not diminishing, like in this case, then tangency will not mean anything, right? Only if MRS is diminishing, tangency has to be met. So that's the answer to this question. Okay. So, but now go ahead and come to the next question. So question is saying, Hari's total spending on grapes rises when price falls from 2 to 1. What can we say about price elasticity of demand? I have just done this. Try to answer this question first, then I will do it. Please try this. So total spending on grape rises, right? Spending का मतलब क्या हो गया बेटा? Spending का मतलब हो गया expenditure. So we are saying that expenditure is increasing. When is expenditure increasing? When price falls from 2 to 1. So price is decreasing. So beta, price and expenditure are moving in opposite direction. When they move in opposite direction, क्या पढ़ाया अभी मैंने? That elasticity will be less than 1. Greater than 1. It will be more elastic. So answer to this will be greater than 1. That's the answer to this question. ठीक है? So इसका ना अगर मतलब if you don't remember this तो एक easy तरीका देखो usually suppose समझो बात को, suppose मेरा price पहले एक चीज का 10 था. Now let's say that price has decreased to suppose 4. बेटा price decrease होने पे मैं elastic कब होंगी? When will I be elastic? If I have huge change in quantity. अगर क्वांटिटी थोड़े से ही चेंज हुई तो फिर इलास्टिक नहीं होंगे ना, फिर तो इनइलास्टिक होंगे. जैसे नेसेसिटी के केस में प्राइस इंक्रीज कर दो या डिक्रीज कर दो, मेडिसिन जितनी कंज्यूम करनी है उतनी ही करनी है, राइट? सो व्हेन विल आई बी इलास्टिक? व्हेन आई शो ट्रिमेंडस चेंज इन क्वांटिटी. आर यू गेटिंग इट? सो इफ आई शो, सपोज इनिशियली आई वाज डिमांडिंग 2 units and I showed tremendous change in quantity. Now I start demanding 20 units. So beta expenditure क्या हो जाएगा? Price into quantity 20, price into quantity 80. So when price decreased, I should increase my spending on the good. Only then it shows that quantity must have increased by huge amount. सिर्फ अगर price के गिरने पे quantity बहुत ज्यादा बढ़े तभी तो पता चलेगा कि expenditure बहुत ज्यादा बढ़ रहा है. और अगर quantity बहुत ज्यादा बढ़ रही है तो वो तो सिर्फ इलास्टिक में होता है ना, या इलास्टिसिटी ग्रेटर देन 1 में होता है ना. सो व्हेन प्राइस एंड क्वांटिटी एक्सपेंडिचर मूव इन ऑपोजिट डायरेक्शन, देन यू हैव इलास्टिसिटी ग्रेटर देन 1. ओके बेटा, कम टू द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन. लास्ट ईयर प्रिया बॉट 6 pairs of shoes when her income was 40,000. This year her income is 50,000 and she purchased 10 pair of shoes. So last year Priya bought 6 shoes, income was 40,000. This year her income is 50,000 and she purchased 10 pair of shoes. So beta, quantity is increasing when income is increasing. तो ये कौन से गुड होते हैं जिसमें you demand more when income increases? Clearly, these should be your normal goods. But beta, normal good is not given anywhere, right? Normal नहीं दिया है, तो क्योंकि ये normal नहीं दिया है, inferior तो नहीं है, we know. She prefers shoes to boots. ये भी नहीं हो सकता क्योंकि boots के बारे में तो कुछ लिखा ही नहीं है. And she is anyways increasing shoes. So we don't know anything about boots. ये भी नहीं हो सकता. Has price inelastic demand? We cannot talk about price elasticity here because it is a relation with income. So this cannot be true. So normal नहीं दिया, so I will go with luxury. So I can just highlight and say that she treats it as a luxury good, right? Luxury goods are those goods when you can define it in terms of price elasticity also, but luxury goods are those goods which are definitely normal goods. So when your income increases, the demand for those goods should increase. Okay? So because normal is not mentioned, I'm going ahead and marking the answer as luxury. Okay, beta, come to the next question. This question came in year 2008. What does the question say? Padh lete hain. Utility function is 16x plus 13y and price of x is 13 and price of y is 11. Equilibrium household will choose. Okay. So beta, MRS is MUX by MUY. When you differentiate this with respect to x, जब इसकी differentiation x के respect में करोगे, you will get 16. With respect to y, you will get 13. ठीक है? So you are getting 16 by 13. Beta, what is the price ratio? Price of good x is 13 and price of good y is 11. So 13 by 11. Quickly, let me just open my calculator so that I can quickly find these two values. So beta, 16 divided by 13, this is going to be 1.23, right? And beta, 13 divided by 11, this is going to be 1.18. So MRS is more than price ratio. What will you do in this case? Only good X. Only good X. So this household should consume only good X. ठीक है, ये बहुत बारी हमने कर लिया है that when MRS is greater than price ratio, you consume only good X. Okay. Now let us go ahead and let us find out the next question. It says indifference curve are downward sloping because. So this question, it came in 2006 paper. And we know that indifference curve are downward sloping. देखो दो चीजें हैं, बहुत ध्यान से समझना. Many of 90% of the students will go ahead and say more of the good is better. I prefer more over less. But it does not mean that that is going to mean it is downward sloping. When I say more is preferred to less, it is because it means that I will prefer higher IC over lower. So if I make an indifference map, I am preferring higher IC over lower. ये मतलब है इसका. बेटा, indifference curve are downward sloping because to purchase more of one good, I have to sacrifice the other good. ठीक है? So when I go ahead from point A to point B, I am sacrificing some amount of good Y to consume an additional unit of good X, right? So that sacrifice that I want to do with time, that is decreasing. That is why they are downward sloping, right? So you should not mark more of good is preferred to less. I've seen many people doing that, but that is an incorrect option, right? So you will say that indifference curve are downward sloping because more of good can only be purchased by sacrificing the other good. When I keep going from point A to B to C, I am sacrificing good Y to purchase good X. And note that with time, I want to sacrifice less and less of good Y to purchase an additional unit of good X, to consume an additional unit of good X. Clear? Okay. Come to the next question. The value of price elasticity of demand. So again, this is easy. Price elasticity of demand is percentage change in quantity demanded due to percentage change in price. So if you notice, beta, it depends on the units used to measure the quantities. It depends on the unit used to measure price. It is the same as the slope of demand curve. Does not depend on unit of measurement. So So basically, it does not depend on the unit of measurement. You have to, why? Because ultimately, quantity and price are in different measures. Quantity होती है units में, price होता है rupees में, dollars में, but elasticity का जो value आती है, that is always unitless. We say that it is 0.5 or we say it is 1.7. So elasticity is always unitless. It does not matter whether I am taking the quantity in kg or whether I am taking the quantity, let's say, in grams, or whether I'm taking quantity in terms of the number of cars or number of bicycles. The unit does not matter. Elasticity is going to go ahead and be just a number. It is a unit-free measure, right? It does not depend on the unit. Okay. Achha, many students say that elasticity is same as slope of demand curve. So beta, अगर मैं inverse demand curve draw करूं, right? And I take P here and Q here. So the slope of the demand curve, that is perpendicular by base now. So it should be perpendicular by base. So change in price by change in quantity. That means mathematically speaking, it should be dP by dQ. ये होना चाहिए slope इसका. dP by dQ, change in price by change in quantity. But beta, elasticity is not this. Elasticity is P by Q into dQ by dP. So elasticity and slope will give you two different answers. Don't think they are the same thing, please. Okay. Answer will be D. It does not depend on the unit of measurement. Okay. Come to the next question. So next question says, so you're correct, beta. In the last one, the answer is going to be none of the above. Decreasing MRS is going to imply convexity. This is an answer for convexity. Okay, come to the next question. A 5% increase in income leads to a 12% increase in demand for mobile phones. It follows that. So we have to go ahead and we have to say that there is a percentage change in income, that is 5%, right? And percentage change in demand, that is 12%. So now it is asking what is going to be your income elasticity. So income elasticity is simple. It is going to be percentage change in demand due to percentage change in income. So this is just 12 by 5, 2.4. So elasticity, income elasticity is going to be 2.4. Now, the question is whether it is a normal good or not. So beta, think that because with increase in income, the demand of mobile phone is increasing. It has to be a normal good. It cannot be an inferior good. So the answer to this question is that it is a normal good and the elasticity is 2.4. So ये तो नहीं हो सकता. This is incorrect. This is incorrect. This is incorrect. Oh, so let's write down the D option. So it should be income elasticity is 2.4 and mobile phones are normal goods, right? So that is the answer to your question. Okay. So with this, we go ahead and we finish a few of the questions, the first marathon of microeconomics. If you have any question from what we have done, please go ahead and post it in the Telegram, and we can go ahead and I can answer those questions again. Apart from this, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to post your test. I think so it should be up and live, or it will be live in some time. So, you go ahead and you also do the test of the day. That is going to be based on Slutsky equation. It is very, very important. Okay. Any doubt in this? Just I'm waiting for 5 more minutes. You can ask me the doubt. Otherwise, I will end the session. Anything that is not clear? Yeah, so more is preferred over less can be the reason for sacrifice, but ideally, here beta the reason for sacrifice is that in a way I want to also hold my utility constant. So, so supposedly this is my IC, and let's say my utility function is xy. So when my x is 1 and y is 5, my utility is say 5. So if I want to move to any other point, I need to ensure that my utility remains constant at 5. So if this decreases and this increases, utility will be 5. So in order to hold utility constant, we are saying that when good 1 increases, I have to sacrifice good 2. Right? But I will not go ahead and mark this option as the correct answer, that more is preferred, more of good is preferred. That just means that I want to be on as high IC as possible and reach my bliss. But I will not state it as the correct reason for why ICs are downward sloping. Right? So most of the book will simply say, because in order to consume more units of good X, consumer must give up some unit of good Y. Okay, so I think we'll end this session for the day then, and we will meet again with some more CUET marathons in the future. Thank you.